What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over the X-Men, but now it's time for us to dive into more Wolverine comics. Now we're going to cover a two-part story arc where it's technically Wolverine teaming up with Jubilee and another character known as Terror to save a young girl. Now, I really want to do the story arc because of the character known as Terror. For me personally, he's kind of cool, but for Marvel Comics, he's very obscured. I feel like not a lot of fans actually know about him. So later on in this video, I kind of want to sit down and have a small conversation about this character. Now, this two-part story arc does pick up where our last one left off at. You see, in our last video, when it came to Wolverine, he lost the woman he loved, and her name was Mariko. Now, when it came to Mariko and Wolverine, they did plan on getting married to one another. The problem was, though, well, Mariko had a goal that she was trying to achieve. Let me explain. You see, when it came to Mariko, recently she had taken over her father's clan. The problem was her father's clan was really evil. They had a whole criminal empire in Tokyo, Japan. And so for Mariko, she wanted to bring honor back into her clan, to move the clan away from all the crime that they did under her father's control. But the problem was, though, right when it seemed like she was going to be able to achieve that goal, she was killed off by poison. And unfortunately, that means Wolverine was no longer able to marry the woman he loved. And so this two-part story is kind of Wolverine trying to move on from that moment, a very heartbreaking moment. But while you have Wolverine walking around the mansion feeling sad about the idea of losing Mariko, he overhears a conversation going on between Charles Xavier and another character known as Barton Huff. Now, Barton Huff is a very wealthy man. He owns his own big lumber company. And really, that's the big problem right there. You see, when it comes to Barton Huff and his lumber company, he's going around to different areas, cutting down trees left and right. And he has ticked off the wrong set of people, a eco-terrorist group known as the Nature Defense League. And so they're very upset with the idea that Barton and his company are going around cutting down trees in many different areas around the world. And so because of that, they kidnapped his daughter. Now, for Barton, he heard a very big secret about Charles Xavier, about the idea that Charles is actually the leader of the X-Men. You see, around his time in Marvel Comics, the world did not know that Charles was actually a mutant, that Charles was actually the leader of the X-Men. And so for Charles, he has to continue to play the idea that his school for gifted children is not really for mutants, but more like, hey, kids who are special in their own kind of way. And no, there are no X-Men here. But in reality, the X-Men are his students and they do live there and he is their leader. And so you have Charles continue to play the idea that he has no idea what Barton is talking about. But right after you had Charles and Barton being able to finish their meeting, you then have Wolverine kind of realize that Barton left behind a book. Inside that book is a chunk of hair that belonged to his missing daughter. And so for Logan, he says, you know what? It's time for me to get involved to hopefully find this young missing woman. Now, you do have Logan say, hey, Jubilee, you are coming with me on this big adventure. And she agrees like, no big deal. But now you have Wolverine and Jubilee head over to Oregon. And the reason why, because in that state, Barton has a lot of sites that are currently being used to cut down a lot of trees. And so for Wolverine and also Jubilee, the NDL is most likely in Oregon as well, and most likely holding on to his daughter in that area. And so you have Logan and Jubilee going around trying to ask any information about the missing girl. The problem is they're outsiders and nobody wants to talk to outsiders. And so unfortunately for Logan and Jubilee, they have to go to plan B. And so you have Logan say, you know what? I got an idea. Let's go ahead and stake out one of the sites that are being controlled by Barton, because if the NDL are here, then most likely they are going to attack all the sites that are being controlled by Barton. If we keep eyes on one of them, then most likely we can find a member of the NDL and get information out of that member. Now, for Logan and Jubilee, they do get lucky because while sticking out one of the sites that do belong to Barton Huff, you do have a member of the NDL appear. Now, this member, his name is Lance. And when it comes to Lance, well, he has a grenade with him. And he does plan on using that grenade to blow up one of the machines that are currently used at this site. Now, you do have Logan being able to get the jump on Lance. The problem is, well, Lance had already pulled the pin from the grenade, and so that grenade is going off very soon. As a matter of fact, it does. But luckily for Lance, Logan saved his life. The problem is you have Lance try to attack Logan, but Logan is a great skill fighter, and he was able to get the upper hand on Lance very easily. Now, for Logan, he did plan on using Lance as a way to get information on the missing girl. But for Lance, he's kind of like, nah, there's no way you're going to take me in. So you have Lance actually commit suicide because there was a shard of metal nearby, and you have Lance just jump on that shard and let it impale him in the neck, killing him off just like that. Now for Jubilee, it does seem like, okay, this plan is a complete failure. But for Logan, he says, no, I know a guy who can actually still help us when it comes to this kind of problem. Now, you do have Wolverine and Jubilee head over to a nearby morgue. Now, when they do arrive at the morgue, you do have Jubilee be introduced to a character known as Terror. Now, Terror first appeared in St. George issue number 2. I'm not going to sit down and try to explain what the heck St. George is all about, but for Terror, he's from the distant past. You see, when he came to a small tribe way in the past, they fought a demon that looked very similar to a green bear. Except for Terror, he was the one who had actually killed off the demon that looked like a green bear. But there was a curse, and with that curse, his skin began to turn green, and well, he became like a zombie. Now, with that being said, Terror has the ability to take other people's body parts and use them as his own. But here's the catcher though, he's also able to see everything that person remembers. And so the reason why you have Wolverine call up Terror is to go ahead and use his powers on the dead body of Lance. And so with Terror being able to take a body part of Lance, he is able to see everything that Lance remembers. So for Terror, he was able to realize that the NDL is now being led by a guy known as Johnny Bloodseed, who has formed his own organization and has turned it into a cult for environmental fanatics who are willing to take extreme measures to help protect nature. Now, you do have Terror say he also sees the young girl who's missing with Johnny as well. But he also tells us that, well, Johnny also does, regular sermons and begun calling himself Monkey Wrench. Now, that is a very horrible name. Now, for our heroes, they're then confronted by Monkey Wrench and a few other members of the NDL. They came to the morgue to retrieve the body of Lance. So you do have a huge battle take place in the middle of the morgue. Now, when it comes to our heroes, at first, it does seem like maybe they can hold their own. But unfortunately, our heroes do get overpowered by all the different members of the NDL. Now, when it comes to Logan, he does try his best to take on Monkey Wrench, but Monkey Wrench is able to hit Wolverine out the window. Now, you do have them being able to escape. Now, Jubilee and Terror, they want to make sure that Wolverine is okay because homeboy just got smashed right out the window, which he is okay. But the problem was, though, you have Monkey Wrench being able to put a spike into Wolverine's chest. Now, usually, this would not be a huge problem because of his healing factor. Pull the spike out, it'll heal up very easily. But the problem is, though, this spike apparently has a bomb placed inside of it. So if it is pulled out wrong, boom, there goes Wolverine. And most likely, he will not be able to heal up from that kind of injury. And so as we dive into the next chapter, we do pick up with Wolverine, Jubilee, and Terror trying to find a way to remove the bomb in Wolverine's chest. Now, for Terror, he does have a game plan here to drop Wolverine in freezing water, because the freezing water should slow down the bomb long enough to allow Wolverine to remove it, get far away from it before it does explode. The problem is, though, once you have Wolverine's body drop in freezing water, his survival instinct kicks in and he's fighting to survive. And so for Wolverine, the whole thing right now is he's trying to fight against Terror to get out of the freezing water. Except you have Terror let go of Wolverine, he falls deep into the freezing water and the currents begin to carry him away. Now, luckily for Logan, Terror and Jubilee were able to find him and get him out of the water. And also Wolverine was able to pull the spike out of his chest. And the bomb does go off, but luckily our heroes were far from the explosion. But now we have to jump back over to Monkey Wrench, and we see Monkey Wrench kind of giving one of his extreme sermons to his people, and they are loving it a lot, the idea of continuing to do their work. But then we see he has Alice, the missing girl. Now for him, he's trying his best to convert her over to his side, over to his cult, but she says no. Now we do learn a tad bit about the character. We do learn that apparently she was kind of against her father's plans for the environment, but not this kind of plan. The whole idea of being extreme and trying to kill off people to make a statement. But either way, you have Monkey Wrench trying to convince her to join the cult. She says no, and now he is going to use her as an example for his purpose. But getting back over to Wolverine, Jubilee, and also Terror, we do see that Wolverine gave himself a haircut so that he'll be able to sneak his way into the NDL organization to get close enough to Monkey Wrench and to also be able to, find Alice. Now, he does cut all his hair off just in case Monkey Wrench is able to recognize Logan. So now our homeboy got a clean cut and he's ready to go undercover. But the following day, we do pick up with a different branch of the NDL. Now, this branch is being led by a character known as Jake Grenfire. Now, Jake is trying to lead a more peaceful branch of the NDL when it comes to their ideas of reaching their goals. They hate the idea of killing off people or doing other kinds of extreme things. But the problem is they are confronted by the other branch that's being led by Monkey Wrench. Now you do have the other branch try to attack Jake, but then we have Wolverine appear and take Jake out, or supposedly take Jake out, so that he is able to get an offer to join the other branch that's being led by Monkey Wrench, to hopefully get close to Monkey Wrench, but to also find the missing girl. After you have Wolverine walk away, we do learn that, well, Jake was part of the plan. So he faked the idea of being killed off and then have Terror and Jubilee follow Logan to hopefully help Logan take down Monkey Wrench and his crew, but to also find the missing woman. Now, really, the rest of the book is really more of Wolverine being able to get into the actual group of the NDL that's being led by Monkey Wrench, but also being able to fight against him and his crew. Now, you do have Jubilee there and also Terror there as well to help out, and the three characters are actually able to take down the entire group being led by Monkey Wrench. And you have Wolverine being able to find the missing girl just in time. And so technically the day is saved. Now the book really does end on a very good note where you do have Brayton being very excited about the idea of having his daughter back. Now at first he does believe it was Jake Grenfire who had kidnapped his daughter, not knowing that Jake Grenfire was part of a different group of the NDL who actually helped Logan get his daughter back. But either way, you do have the book kind of end on a good note where you kind of have Brayton say, you know what? maybe I should possibly slow down my whole logging company a tad bit. And really, that's it. And so this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.